Oh my God, y'all. That doesn't really help at all, does it? Oh my God, y'all. We have just received confirmation that Donald Trump is indeed in the Epstein files. This is huge. And I mean, there's no way to get around it. He's in the Epstein files. Pam Bondi told him that he's in them. So the Wall Street Journal recently just came out with this piece. Bombshell, Pam Bondi already told Trump his name is in the Epstein files. It has been officially confirmed. It's been officially confirmed. The Wall Street Journal. By the way, for those people who do not know, the Wall Street Journal is a conservative paper. The Wall Street Journal is owned by Fox, is owned by the Fox Corporation. They're basically owned by News Corp. These are the same people that own. These are the Murdochs. These are the same people who own Fox News. So like, this is crazy for these bombshells to be breaking in the New York Journal, or what? Not New York Journal, Wall Street Journal. I'm getting New York Times and Wall Street Journal mixed up. It's crazy. It's crazy that it's coming out of all things in the Wall Street Journal, which actually on this story gives it even more credibility. Hello, Miss Raw, hello, Akicha, hello, Ellie, my little bro, hugs, lots of love. And so like, this is huge. This is absolutely huge. I mean, girl, like we already knew. We didn't need this to like be officially told to us, but this is something that's big. And I had to do a surprise I had to do an impromptu broadcast about this because like, and this is only the tip of the iceberg, y'all. With the news that came out today, y'all, this is not even the best part. So, to give you all a little taste, you know Pam Bondi. No, that's not a myth. No, be like, Pam Bondi, that sounds like a concept or a liberal concept. The Pam Bondi. No, it's not a medical condition. No, Pam Bondi, our Attorney General, okay? She has been kind of covering for Donald Trump in these Epstein files, everything. Well, there was news that came out about her today as well. So Pam Bondi already told Trump that his name is in the Epstein files. And of course, Donald Trump denied, that Pam Bondi told him that. But this piece came out in the Wall Street Journal and said, this bombshell came out, confirms that President Donald Trump's name is in the Epstein files, and that he was told as much by his own Attorney General Pam Bondi back in May. Quote, when the Justice Department officials reviewed what Attorney General Pam Bondi called, quote, a truckload, end quote, of documents related to Jeffrey Epstein earlier this year, they discovered that Donald Trump's name appeared multiple times, according to the senior administration officials. That's how the Wall Street Journal story began. In May, Bondi and her deputy informed the president, meeting at the White House, that his name was in the Epstein files. Now, the officials also pointed out that even though your name is in there, being mentioned in the records isn't a sign of wrongdoing. And so, yes, this is a pop-up live. Y'all, because this is breaking news. This is huge. I mean, our current president is in the Epstein files. Now you might be like, well, so is Bill Clinton. Yeah, okay, cool, lock him up. I don't care about Bill Clinton, but you seem to care about Trump. You seem to really care about trying to protect him, because if you're one of those people, like if it's discovered that Obama or that Hillary Clinton or that Joe Biden are in the Epstein files, you're not going to see me cry about it. You're not. Like, I'm like, okay, if there's evidence to show that they should be held accountable, that there's evidence to show that they did wrongdoing, convict him. Hold him accountable, lock him up. Like, but MAGA can't say the same thing about Trump, because that's their deity. That's their Lord. That's their God. And so prove me wrong. Now, what's even better about this story here is that, of course, Donald Trump denies that Pam Bondi actually told him. So I'm like, what? Are you supposed to be then surprised that you're in the files? Like, what is this? So, of course, he was asked about this moment where the reporter said, What did you, what did she tell you about the review, and specifically did she tell you, referring to Pam Bondi, that your name appeared in the files? And then Trump says, no, she's given us just a very quick briefing, and in terms of the credibility of the statement, things that they've already seen. And I would say that, these files were made up by James Comey, made up by Barack Obama, they were made up by Biden. And then he goes on to talk about Russia, whatever crap. So he basically, like, deflects from answering the conversation, answering the question. But let me get to the huge thing that I want to talk about. And this is just funny, but also there's speculation here. So there's some fact, but then there's some speculation, all right? So earlier on this week, it was reported, I didn't talk about it on my live stream, but Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, I don't know when she got the opportunity, but she was scheduled to speak at a CPAC summit. This is the Conservative Political Action Committee. They're very well funded by far right-wing interests. But basically, they're having a human trafficking summit, which I'm not opposed to. Obviously, that's something that is a huge issue to address, specifically sex trafficking, but any sort of human trafficking in general. And that's just a global issue as well that needs to be addressed. And every single day that you go without recognizing that Donald Trump is a part of that problem, then you're doing an injustice to all the victims. Nevertheless, Pam Bondi was offered, the Attorney General, I don't know when she was offered, but she was offered to speak at the summit. And it was on the books that she was going to speak at it. But in a shocking turnaround, just very, very briefly before it all started today, they were like, yeah, so we have some breaking news that's unfortunate. And they basically announced that she would not be attending because of issues with her eye or eyes. Now, if there is an actual issue with her eyes, I am not an evil person. I truly hope that she feels better. I've had I've had issues. I've had pink eye before, actually, at one point. So I know that must hurt. That all being said, it's hard for me to want to give the benefit of the doubt to someone that is obviously covering up for a sex criminal like Donald Trump. And so the speculation was running rampant online. So let's get to that. Pam Bondi bails on the Conservative Political Action Committee's Human Trafficking Summit amid Epstein uproar, claiming that she has a torn cornea. Now, I am not a doctor, but I do know that the cornea is the surface part of your eye. So like when you put in a contact, that's what you put the contact on. Because like the cornea is like the covering, I believe. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. But so Attorney General Pam Bondi bailed on speaking at a human trafficking summit organized by the Conservative Political Action Conference Wednesday, sending a message that she was suffering from a torn cornea. The announcement that Bondi would be a featured speaker at CPAC's International Summit Against Human Trafficking raised eyebrows and outrage Monday as it came amidst a whirlwind of controversy bombarding President Donald Trump, Bondi, and other top White House officials regarding the Epstein files. The fallout from the Epstein files flop has emboldened Trump's political opponents and reignited bitter internecine, that's an interesting, strange word, MAGA civil wars, messily playing out on social media and leading to calls for Trump to fire or demand the resignation of Bondi and other administration officials. Many of the calls for the release of the Epstein files are coming from other Republicans, which, to their credit, good. I think that's a good thing. I hope that they would join in Democrats with then pushing the DOJ to actually release those files. That all being said, shortly before Bondi was expected to speak at the event moderators read a statement with, quote, some news from the Attorney General's office saying that she had canceled. And I don't have that statement actually for you. I was going to see if I can find a transcript, but this was the moment that one of the moderators actually read out that she would not be there because of this issue. And so let me just get to the comment section because, this comment section it just gives me life, okay? Now, again, let me just point out, if she has a true torn cornea, I'm not a deceitful or awful person. I truly hope she feels better. And I do mean that. Though it's also hard for me to want to believe her, because this is the same person that has been covering for Donald Trump and says that the Epstein files were on her desk to review, and then says that there's no client list. She's like, oh, the client list is on my desk to review, and then she says that there is none. So it's hard for me to want to believe her or even wish her well. But let me continue. So Pam Bondi abruptly cancels her appearance at the CPAC Summit on Human Trafficking due to having a torn cornea. And I wrote, I see, and let me just get to these comments here. Must have torn her eye from reading the Epstein files. And this shows her with an eye patch. Bondi is done. The torn cornea is an excuse to why she missed Trump's name mentioned 50 times in the Epstein files. I cannot confirm if his name has been mentioned 50 times. That person just may have commented that to drive home a point. But you can see it's a Scooby-Doo cartoon and Fred and a ghost that was unmasked. This is this is just funny. There was also other memes. There are other memes here. Right. Just because you profess to see no evil doesn't mean it hasn't been seen. What's your excuse going to be for hearing no evil? A burst eardrum. This person said, I guess she can't read the Epstein files now. This is just, it's so bad. It's so bad. But let me get to my favorite one, okay? So, LOL, she's confused. She thought it was a conference for people, for people who work for sex traffickers. That's why she originally agreed to go. That's rough. Pretty sure Pam Bondi canceled because she supports those people. Here's my favorite comment. Maybe she injured herself for looking for things on her desk. Because, again, the reason why that's so funny is, if you all remember, Pam Bondi was like, yeah, the client list is sitting on my desk right now to review. And then they come out later with a memo saying that there is no client list. And so it's fueled a whole bunch of controversy around, like, creating this Pam Bondi in action figure. But now, going back to this comment, it just makes it hilarious because it's like, maybe she injured herself looking for things on her desk. Oh my gosh. And see, this is the thing. These people are so shameless in their grifting. And this is what the American people have to deal with. This is what, these are who our leaders are. Can't we do better? We must do better. But, like, this is the thing. We don't have to suffer through this kind of crap. We don't have to. We can just elect competent people that aren't embroiled by scandal 24/7 and that are focused on trying to do whatever they can to elect the country. I yearn for the years that we had boring Joe Biden back in the White House. At least we weren't even more of a clown show than we already are. Like, Biden wasn't perfect. He had his critiques. I constantly called them out. Genocide being the biggest one. But, like, I yearn for the days that we had a president that wasn't constantly making a mockery or embroiled in scandal in that way. You know, like, anyway, I also yearn for the days that people people wouldn't, like, constantly degrade other people for their status. How about you actually help people become citizens of the country that want to work here and be citizens, you know? It's just frustrating to me. That all being said, I was just laughing at that. Donald stuck his finger in her eye and demanded that she sit this one out. And don't get me wrong, I like Thomas Massey or Bernie Sanders. To be clear to that person, I am a Bernie bro. I'm one of these Bernie Sanders people. So I'm one of these super, I guess, woke. I guess I'm one of these woke communist Marxist socialists that want to have some regulation on our capitalism as a start and then see if we need to go from there. I am a huge Bernie bro. I do have a little picture like a little poster of Bernie. That's like the one piece of political merchandise I have. But anyway, continuing on with these comments here, probably why she's having a hard time reading public opinion. God, it's just so dark but funny. Her torn cornea is probably why she's having a tough time reading public opinion. God. Oh, the irony. It's probably a torn hair extension or an accident during an injection. This person said, talk about bad optics. Imagine seeing videos of Trump doing awful things to 13-year-olds and thinking that she's going to help cover this up. She must be dead inside. I mean, here's also the thing. Pam Bondi, as well as Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, were ordered at taking charge of the Epstein files. And in order to review all of them, there had to be endless amounts of video footage and pictures of all that stuff that's been happening. I'm sure that is exhausting. And I'm sure that is disturbing to also look at. So I guess it's not medically unreasonable to assume that maybe she tore her cornea looking at things for long periods of time. Who knows? I'm also not going to say that I believe or don't believe her. That's not for me to form an opinion on. I'm not someone that is going to stake and say like for sure that she has or has not. Because I don't know. I'm not going to tell you things I don't know. It's being reported that she has a torn cornea. Though, it is pretty convenient for her to say those things in order to get out of speaking at a human trafficking summit. You know what I mean? She tore her cornea after reading how many times Donald Trump's name was mentioned in the Epstein files for being a pedophile. This person just posted a picture of her in a less flattering light and just says, look at that thing. Now, we all have had bad pictures, so I think that's a little unfair. There are other pictures of her that you can use. I also want to point out, really, really quickly, that Pam Bondi, our Attorney General, it has not been reported that she's ever had any eye problems. It's not been reported. Doesn't mean it hasn't happened, but it's not been reported that she's had any eye problems. There is no information provided in search results that shows she's had any problems with her eyes. That's according to the AI overview. So this is only just a launch point. When I was doing my research before going live, I could not find any sort of information showing that. So if there's more information that comes out in the following days, I'll be sure to let you all know. C-Bar, hello! But also, what we do know is that she did have some plastic surgery, cosmetic surgery on her eyes, which included trying to eliminate eye bags and stuff like that, stem fat cell transfer, whatever it is. Stem cell fat transfer, whatever. So that could have, I guess, possibly done something to her cornea. I'm not a medical expert, though the reason why this is just so obnoxious is that she was scheduled to speak at a human trafficking summit. She was scheduled to speak at a human trafficking summit at CPAC, the Conservative Political Action Committee, and she bailed, claiming that she has a torn cornea. It's pretty convenient timing for you. It's almost as if she wants to avoid these kinds of speaking engagements. It's almost as if she wants to, not be seen in the public eye, for lack of a better phrase, because of this kind of stuff. And all of this being said, who knows if this is somehow tied to Donald Trump being in the Epstein files? Who knows? But this is breaking news, that Donald Trump is in them. The Wall Street Journal has confirmed. Now, for those people who do not know, the Wall Street Journal is a right-leaning newspaper. The Wall Street Journal is owned... Let me actually go back, because I have all of the receipts here to show you all. For those people who do not know, the Wall Street Journal is owned by the Fox Corporation. So let me... hold on just a second. Let me get to it here. The Wall Street Journal. Hold on just a sec. Just a second. Where is it? Where is it? I have so much. Here we go. The Wall Street Journal is owned by News Corp. And News Corp is also controlled by the Murdoch family. The Murdoch family is the same family that has jurisdiction or leadership of Fox News. So for these pieces about Donald Trump being in the Epstein files, about the piece where someone came forward and was talking about how he wrote a letter to Jeffrey Epstein or whatever that was like super sexy and like salacious or whatever. I didn't really report on that too much because I can't verify the integrity of it. That all being said, it's interesting that this is all coming out in the Wall Street Journal. The Wall Street Journal is a right-leaning newspaper. It's owned by News Corp, which is controlled by the Murdoch family. The same family, Rupert Murdoch, Lachlan Murdoch, that own Fox News. So when Donald Trump says that he wants to sue Rupert Murdoch, sue the Wall Street Journal, he's also suing the people who oversee Fox News. So that's interesting. Just pointing that all out. If you want further information on that, the Wall Street Journal was founded in 1889 by Charles Bergstresser, Charles Dow, and Edward Jones. Again, that's where the Dow Jones comes from. Rupert Murdoch's News Corporation purchased the Dow Jones Company from the Bancrofts in 2007 for $5 billion and $60 per share. So what's interesting is that they all are intertwined in that instance. So yes, Rupert Murdoch, through the Fox Corporation, still owns Fox News, but also Fox News is owned by News Corp, which is the same group that owns the Wall Street Journal. So it's all headquartered by the same Murdoch family. So I just wanted to point that all out there. That adds a really interesting wrinkle in this whole story. Hopefully it's not a wrinkle under the eye. But yes, the Wall Street Journal, the conservative-leaning paper, has now confirmed that Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. Which, when you really think about all of this, Donald Trump has attempted to distance himself endlessly from Jeffrey Epstein. At one point, he was like, I didn't know him, I didn't like him, I don't even know who Jeffrey Epstein is, blah, 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 blah. He literally tried to do everything he could to distance himself. Then it was, well, I guess I know him, but I didn't like him, even though you had favorable words for him in the past. Oh, I did know him, but I kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago. Okay, but there's also so much evidence to show how close you were from the past all the way through that moment and also into the future. Also, it's very convenient for him to try to save his own ass on this, meanwhile trying to dodge accountability. What is a huge core part of our Constitution? No one is above the law. No one. Not Trump, not Biden, no one. No one. So it's important to make sure that you give everyone their day in court. You know, you can't just support someone without due process, but you also have to hold people accountable. No one is above the law. Not Trump, not Biden. Now, if you're one of these MAGA people that are like, oh, Biden pardoned his son. Yeah, that was bad optics. He should not have done that, in my view. That only gives fodder to people to criticize them. That all being said, when we're looking at the current president right now, Trump is not above the law. He's not. He should not be. Now, if you want to live in a third world country where you have a dictator, sure. You want fascism and you want to have a king and you want to have someone, if you depose the king, then you're overthrown. If you want to live in the Emperor's New Groove where he can throw you off of the cliff if you threw off his groove, girl. So no one is above the law. If it is discovered that Trump Biden, Clinton, Kamala Harris, Obama, I don't know. All those people are in the files. Great. Hold them accountable. We don't need, and so I'm not even looking at the chat. I'm not even looking at the chat, actually. I have it paused where it's like I physically can't see it moving. If there is a lot of people who are in here trying to be divisive, why? Why? Why are you constantly feeling the need to make me into your enemy? I'm a fellow American. We are all in this together. We should all be on the same page. We all want transparency. We all want to hold powerful people accountable, regardless of party affiliation, I hope. Now, unless you're one of these chest thumpers that is constantly screaming at the top of your lungs how loyal you are to a whining man baby that constantly goes on his social media and tweets names about people. Like, Donald Trump doesn't even know who you are, so why do you constantly feel the need to defend him? I'm just saying all of that because you're better. Hopefully I can appeal to some people. You're better than constantly placating a whiny billionaire. Like, don't make your whole political identity literally appeasing a whiny billionaire. That's pretty beta. If you want to go there, it's pretty beta. So, all that being said, it has been revealed that Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. The Wall Street Journal has put that forward. And whew, I mean, I'm not going to say that I'm surprised because there's so much evidence to show that he's in the files. But like seeing it also come out in the Wall Street Journal it's kind of, I don't know, it's just interesting seeing it come out in the same paper that is owned by News Corp, the same group that owns Fox News. So anyway, but I also want to get to some other things. Again, he denied. So apparently Pam Bondi, it was discussed and reported that Pam Bondi apparently told him back in May that he's like, Sir, you're in the Epstein files. And they said, well, just because you're in there does not mean that it's a sign of wrongdoing. So being mentioned in the records isn't a sign of wrongdoing. Now, I want to make that clear. Being mentioned, I guess, in records like that doesn't mean that you're a guilty party. But this is Donald Trump we're talking about. This is the same guy who is on the Access Hollywood tapes. He said that he could just grab women by the P word and they'll let you do it because you're a star. Do you really think that that kind of person wouldn't be in the Epstein files? Like, put your critical thinking hat on for a second. If Biden or Obama were caught saying that, the right wing, y'all would be like, yeah, okay, don't you think he would be in the Epstein files then? So why is it that you completely backtrack on whatever critical thinking because it's convenient for you? And this is the thing, it's all opportunism with certain folks. Don't be a partisan opportunistic thinker. Look at the principles unilaterally and apply them equally. Apply them equally. It shouldn't be hard. We're all in this together, looking at this kind of stuff. If you're going to have a belief in something, make sure that it's applied equally. Otherwise, you're just a convenient, motivated thinker that only acts upon things when it benefits you. And that's what MAGA does all the time, trying to rationalize Donald Trump's corruption. You don't see me crying out here if they do something, if they charge Joe Biden for if he were to be in the Epstein files. I'm not going to shed a tear. I'll be like, okay, hold him accountable. Don't worship your politicians. And also, let me go back to that. I posted a video recently too. This is just a small little anecdote. Loyalty does not belong in politics. Let me say that again for some people who've never heard me say that. Loyalty does not belong in politics. Don't be loyal to anything other than your own ideology, your own principles, your own morality. Politicians, they don't deserve your vote. They're not entitled to your vote. Donald Trump is not entitled, MAGA, Donald Trump is not entitled to your vote. For Democrats, they're not entitled to your vote. The reason I say all of that is like, there are people who think they have to, as a part of being within the identity of MAGA, have to be a part of that group. They have to prove how Republican they are. Loyalty does not belong in politics. It doesn't. Politicians work for us. Politicians work for us. We don't work for them. So don't fall into the trap of like, oh, I have to be loyal to this person. Loyalty belongs in sports, in a sports team. I'm not a big sports guy. I have, people who are huge into sports. My family, we watch hockey or golf. But like, loyalty belongs more in a team sports setting where you cheer for your team on a good day and on a bad day, if they're doing well or not doing well. Politics is not like that. These people work for us. We don't work for them. So I just wanted to point that out there when it comes to this. If you're someone who's like, yeah, but I've always been loyal to Trump. Just because you have always been loyal to Trump doesn't mean you have to continue being loyal to him. Because the more evidence that comes out about all of this, he's going to be found more and more liable and guilty and seen as like the con man that he is. You don't have to be loyal to someone who literally animates you to the point where you buy 47 hats and 57 shirts and 64 yard flags and yard signs and like 3 pairs of socks. You buy the Trump Bible, you buy the Trump cologne. You're trying to keep up with the Joneses to show that you're MAGA enough to not be warrant any sort of suspect of having one belief that is, I guess, liberal or woke. That all being said, like, loyalty does not belong in politics. Critical thinking, empathy, looking at it holistically, that's what belongs in politics. Don't just worship politicians. And the reason why you're like, well, why do you always tend to call out Republicans more? Why are you always pointing out that, like, the Republicans need to be the ones that hear that message? Because y'all are. Democrats are overly critical to each other to a T. You do not see people that are your more moderate Democrats being like huge fans of Bernie bros. So we're overly critical of each other. That loyalty isn't as much there. So that's why I call out MAGA in that sense. But I hope that at least helps in some cases. I would encourage you all to spread that around. Loyalty does not belong in politics. Remember, politicians, we don't work for them. They work for us. They work for us. So when it comes to Donald Trump, don't just be loyal to him. Don't just trust. Don't trust politicians. Let me also say that again. Don't trust politicians. Don't. When I run for Congress, I say when, if/when, I don't want people to just be loyal. I don't want people to just trust me. It's a social contract between the voters and the leader and that politician. And you have to renew their work contract. That's how politics works. You don't just trust them. You don't just close your eyes and be like, you seem like a good person. No, you be like, did you do this? Did you vote this way? Did you, accomplish this? Or did you push for that? Politics is your opportunity to literally see what you want to see in this country. And you don't want to see someone like Donald Trump constantly out for himself, constantly doing this kind of crap and trying to hide it. You don't have to agree with that opinion, although that would be weird if you don't. All that being said, let me get back into it here. It has been officially announced that Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. The Wall Street Journal, the same paper that is owned by News Corporation, the same News Corp that owns Fox Corporation, Fox News, is reporting this, which is wild. But again, Pam Bondi was like, sir, you're in the Epstein files. Now, that doesn't mean that you're guilty. That doesn't mean being in the files does not mean that it's a sign of wrongdoing. okay? But, like, this is a guy who constantly was trying to distance himself from, like, yeah, I'm not in the Epstein files. I don't know the Epstein files. You know, the Epstein client list doesn't exist. Literally on July 6th, the Department of Justice, the FBI, released a memo saying that the Epstein client list doesn't exist and that they have no need to pursue this any further. And that basically set off a firestorm of like, oh my gosh, so you're not going to do anything else? You promised to disclose these, and yet you're backtracking on that. Now, what's even better is that Trump denied that he was asked, but that he was confronted by Pam Bondi saying that he was in the Epstein files. Of course, he was like, "Who's Pam Bondi? I don't know who Pam Bondi is. I thought that's Pam Bondi. Pam Bondi and Caroline. I thought they were just two of the same person. They're both blondes. They both lie. They both stand and talk all the time, and they're both pretty. You know, they're both very pretty." But speaking of Pam Bondi, and I'm going to have to go here in about, like, I don't know, 4 or 5 minutes. But, it's just, I reported this earlier. This is just, you can't make this stuff up. SNL could never, okay? Pam Bondi, our current attorney general, she's in charge of, like, the law enforcement agencies in the United States. She was scheduled, it was reported on Monday that she was scheduled to speak at a human trafficking summit by the Conservative Political Action Conference. And credit to them, I guess, in that way, to have a conference like that. That's cool. I hope that they're actually doing something and not protecting those people. Because if you were actually prosecuting and caring, then you wouldn't have elected someone like Trump. Let me say that again. For CPAC to be hosting something like that, then why did you constantly praise Donald Trump? Like, all this information that we know about Epstein has been just resurfaced. I mean, like, a good chunk of it, not all of it, I shouldn't say that. A whole good chunk of it. Like, we knew his connections to Jeffrey Epstein earlier on. So why did CPAC push for having a summit like this when they're the ones that helped put forward Donald Trump into the White House? The chief guy, Jeffrey Epstein's best friend. It's just crazy to me. So Pam Bondi apparently was scheduled to speak at this human trafficking summit hosted by CPAC. And at the last minute, she decided to bail, basically saying that her office basically saying that she has a torn cornea. Now, I'm not a medical professional, though my knowledge is that a cornea is the outer covering of your eye. It's the thing that you put your contacts on. I don't have contacts, but that's what you put it on. You put it on your cornea. Now, it's painful. I've had pink eye before, personally. It's painful when your eyes burn or your eyes itch and it's like hard to see. It's tough. So I'm sure a torn cornea is not a pleasant experience. I can neither confirm nor deny that she has one. That is what her office is saying, but it's hard for me to want to believe her when she said the Epstein client list is on my desk right now to review. Then she signs her name on a document saying that there is no client list. So it's hard for me to want to believe a liar. Just saying. The announcement that Bondi would be a featured speaker at CPAC's International Summit Against Human Trafficking raised eyebrows and outrage Monday as it came amidst a whirlwind of controversy regarding Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein and him being in the files. That all being said, shortly before Bondi was expected to speak, the event moderators read a statement with, quote, some news from the Attorney General's office. And this is a small portion of the clip that you can see. There, or not see, but you can see all of that. I wish I had a transcript to show you, but people were going wild with speculation and memes, so must have torn her eye out from reading the Epstein files. You know, I cannot confirm whether that would actually do that, Though, just the memes continued. There's Pam Bondi acting as Fred, and then there's the ghost that's being unmasked. It says people on the Epstein list. Let's see who it is. Ends up being Trump, and then she's like, nope, there is no list. And again, referring to all of that, if you're politically knowledgeable, you might know about it. She literally, in an interview with John Roberts on Fox, again, Fox News is owned by Fox Corporation, which is owned by News Corp, the same group that owns the Wall Street Journal. So that's interesting wrinkle there. But when she was being interviewed on Fox by John Roberts, Roberts said, I saw your appearance at CPAC, blah, 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 blah. You know, the DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that actually happen? And Bondi said, quote, it's sitting on my desk right now to review. It referring to the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. It's pretty simple to look at that. And so when when she's like, oh, she must have seen Donald Trump's names in the Epstein files, you know, must have torn her eye out after seeing all of that. There are also other memes of Dr. Evil, you know, hear no evil, speak no evil, see no evil. I guess she can't read the Epstein files anymore. There's, I don't know if that's supposed to be from Parks and Rec. I believe that's the actress that plays Leslie Knope. I forget her name. LOL, she confused. She thought it was a conference for the people who work for the human traffickers. That's why she originally agreed to go. And then this is my favorite comment. Maybe she injured herself looking for things on her desk. That's just so good. It's so good. Because it's like, it's on my desk right now. Oh, but it doesn't exist. And like, y'all, we don't have to have a country that are led by these kinds of clowns. We really don't. We really don't. I'm not saying that like I was the biggest fan of Biden. He did some things I really appreciated. He wasn't perfect. No politician is. But like, when you look at this, we could have not had this craziness with Trump again. We went on this ride back in 2016 through 2020, and we decided to be gluttons for punishment and go back on it. The definition of insanity is when you do the same thing over again and expect different results. We expected to elect we elected Donald Trump again, thinking he was going to fix the economy. That's what public opinion polls showed. I'm like, ooh, with the tariffs? Girl. Anyway, Donald stuck his middle finger in her eye and then demanded that she sit this one out. Oof. Probably why she's having a hard time reading public opinion. This, what was the one at the bottom here? Talk about bad optics. Oof. Are there any super chats, by the way? There was someone who, I did a live this morning, and so there was someone that popped in and had a super chat and I missed it, and I feel bad about that. Thank you all to those who are listening to learn. Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate every single one of you that are. So the memes continued going rampant here. What do y'all think? Again, I think it's important for us to like not wish anyone ill, though it's hard for us not to want to do that because it's Pam Bondi. This is the same person who has been gaslighting America, saying that the Epstein files or the Epstein list doesn't exist, constantly protecting Trump about it. And it seems very convenient for her to say that she has a torn cornea when, and I'm not going to say that I don't necessarily I can't confirm nor deny her story, though it's being reported that she's never had any issues with her eyes currently or in the past. In that sense, she has had cosmetic surgeries. I know sometimes cosmetic surgeries can lead to those kinds of lead to other issues in that way. Again, I'm not a medical professional. That all being said, it's pretty convenient. If you were to put the shoe on the other foot, and this was a Democrat that did this, you wouldn't need any evidence to convince these MAGA people. You wouldn't, because they would just believe it. But the difference between a critical thinker, independent Democrat or just independent in general, is that you look at this and you don't believe just because it might be convenient for your opinions. You look at it because it's the objective information, and you let that shape your knowledge. So, anyway, I am gonna have to go here, but if this is your first time viewing me, I appreciate you. You know, my name is Scott. I used to be a political organizer for different progressive Democrat campaigns, though I needed health insurance, so I went into the corporate world. So yeah, that's fun. I work in hospitality. Woo! But anyway, so I just wanted to go live with that breaking news there. I appreciate every single one of you. I go live typically 8:30, 9 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time in the mornings if you want to catch me there. I do that usually weekdays. I usually don't do a live in the evening, but this was just big breaking news I had to share. So anyway, I love all of you. Shout out to my amazing moderators in here. Ellie, Akicha, Ilisa, Cantisa. I have a lot of Isas. That's fun. Also, Cherie, Kate, you're incredible. Jenny, Joanna Tech, C-Bar, good friends in here. Yeah, it's my first time with you, Scott. Oh, thanks, Weston. Glad you're here. Rodney Slinger, glad you're here. Glad I found you. Oh, thank you. Hellbilly says, hi, Scott. I've been watching you for a year or two now. Aw. See, and it's nice because sometimes when I'm doing these live streams, it's just littered with negative comments. And I feel bad because then I don't see positive ones where I see people, you know, sharing those positive things. So that actually really means a lot. I hope that I've been able to give you autonomy to think critically when you look at these things. Something I'm very passionate about is, like, you don't have to agree with my opinions. I mean, I would hope you do, but like, I want to teach media literacy because that's not something that's often taught. It's not something that, like, you can look at an article. It's like, where can I see the bias in there? What are they trying to steer me towards? Now, I hope that you steer towards my opinions because my opinions are correct. No, but it's just important to differentiate that because I guess newsflash, I don't think that I'm always going to be 100% right about everything, you know? So anyway, I appreciate every single one of you. Y'all are awesome. I need to skedaddle. Again, shout out to my amazing moderators, and also shout out to all the positive and amazing people in here. I have to go, but just remember that you are beautiful, you are loved, you are valid, you are strong, and you are fierce. Don't let anyone or anything ever, 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 ever dim your shine. I love all of you so much. Bye!